Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing Torres92 in a 5+5 game. It's another climbing the rating ladder video. Yeah, the series is not dead by any means. I have not posted in this series in a while, but let's renew it here against Torres92, rated 1292. Alright, so I usually play either Italian game or Re Lopez. I'm going to go with Italian game. Attacking f7. Good option for those of you who are starting out your chess journey, or those of you who are beginners, advanced beginners. I'll play c3 and look for d4. A lot of people put the knight on c3, which is also not bad, but I would encourage you to at least think about trying to get a pawn to d4. So with this operation, I'm trying to prop up the pawn. I have 1, 2, 3 defenders. Black has 3 attackers. We have enough defenders of the pawn, and here Black needs to know to play bishop b4 check. Let's play it in the most aggressive way with knight c3. You could also play bishop d2. Knight c3 is actually considered by theory to be fine for Black if Black knows what they're doing. Black can equalize, maybe even gain an advantage, but it's quite complicated. These are fundamental positions to know, and that's why I want to go into them and try to demonstrate some play for both sides. So Black plays d5. Knight takes e5 is more critical, so let's take. Hope you're all doing well. I'm recording this on Monday evening, April 13th. All right, now I'm going to castle, giving Black the option of taking twice on c3. However, that will be very dangerous for Black. Okay, so Black takes with the bishop. I think I'll just take back, and knight takes c3 will run into, for example, queen e1 check with a fork. I thought for a moment about whether I could throw in a check, but Black can block on the e-file, and that's a very good decision by my opponent to castle right there. They need to get their king to safety. Okay, so moves I'm considering here. Bishop a3 to try to bring a piece into the game with tempo, attack that rook on f8. I'm also thinking about just defending this pawn, so maybe something like queen d3. Bishop g5, another move to develop with a gain of time. Maybe try to induce Black to play f6. At a glance, I'm definitely leaning towards bishop a3. So that's the move that catches my eye. Queen d3, also probably not a bad idea. Again, that bishop g5 move, maybe. So on bishop a3, rook e8, just thinking what my follow-up might be. It's tempting to attack this knight on d5, but I actually don't see anything super promising with that, since queen b3 could be met by knight a5. So maybe I'll play queen d3 just for flexibility's sake. Yeah, looks like a useful move. But solid position for Black. I mean, Black lacks the bishop pair, but their position is fine, and most importantly, they got their king to safety. There's a famous game, Steinitz versus von Bartheleben, which I've gone over on my channel, actually with a physical board, if you check out my archive, in this exact line, where on move number 9, I believe Black played slightly differently. So you can go check that out if you're interested in further Italian game theory. All right, so Black should probably get this light square bishop in the game. Bishop e6 seems like a natural move, although then I could perhaps play knight g5. Black plays bishop g4. All right, this bishop is undefended here. So queen e4 is one thing I would consider, trying to attack the bishop, also hit the knight on d5. But Black can play bishop takes f3 or maybe bishop e6. Definitely liking the look of this knight g5 move. The knight's protected. I'm threatening mate. f5 is going to run into problems like knight e6. Black will be very weak on this diagonal. And if Black plays g6, maybe then I can play queen e4, attacking the bishop on g4 and that knight on d5. And I've got e6 double covered. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. Direct threat here. And just a reminder that the purpose of this series is educational. I'm not playing these games simply to beat up on my opponents. In fact, I have lost climbing the rating ladder games before. I've faced very tough opponents, but the purpose of this series is to attempt to show things that people can improve upon at various rating levels. And in some cases, I find out that I can improve my play as well. And this is kind of two separate series. I have the original Climbing the Rating Ladder series where I played different rating levels, I believe partitioned by 200-point rating bands. That was many years ago. I think in 2016, I released that series. And over the past few years, I've been continuing this series with individual games against players at various levels, just from time to time, kind of ad hoc. So G6, good move by black, covers that queen takes H7 mate threat. And my intention here was queen E4, trying to attack both of these pieces. That looks good. I'm just scanning for ways that black can try to cause problems here, but I think I'm going to be winning material with this move. I'm looking at knight takes C3 after queen E4 just to see if there's some issue, but queen takes G4 just looks good there. I've got everything covered, so let's go ahead and play this. The double attack, the key to chess, as my very first chess coach told me. You've heard many times on my channel. And it's also extremely helpful for me that I have E6 covered twice. So if bishop E6, I can play knight takes E6, F takes E6, and queen takes E6 check, and then I will pick up the knight on D5 when black gets out of the check. Knight F6. Good move. I actually didn't see that move. That tells you where my head is in this position. Over-optimistic. Yeah, I think that's the only way that black probably could have covered both of those squares. So good move by my opponent. Backward knight move. Okay, so queen F4. Looks decent. I still have some nice pressure. Maybe black can try to bail with a knight A5 type move. There's the double attack on F7, but with my queen under fire, I don't want to play that yet. So let's go ahead and play queen F4. Yeah, I think knight A5 would be a decent move here for black because black wants my bishop off of this diagonal. So I'm trying to use this time now to see what I would do against knight A5. And whether bishop takes F7 or knight takes F7 is any good. I don't think it leads to a whole lot. Trade twice. Okay, black plays queen D6, offering a trade. Now I could swap and maybe just claim that the pawn on D6 is somewhat weak in the endgame. But yeah, queen D6 also looks reasonable. Totally decent move. Looking at knight takes F7 again here. Yeah, not a whole lot. That looks great there to me. Let's play rook E1. I'm going to agree to the queen trade, but I'm trying to get black to take me so I can maybe develop with a gain of time and attack that pawn on C7. Even though black won't have an isolated pawn, I'm hoping the attack on that pawn causes black some discomfort. And now knight A5. Okay. Makes sense. Probably bishop D3. That would be my instinct here. Getting a little lower on time, so want to make some quicker decisions. Now, at least, though, for black, they can put a rook on E8 without fear. So, for example, rook Fe8. There's no bishop takes F7 move that's going to hurt black. I'll probably just play bishop D2 against that, try to connect my rooks, be able to get the other rook over to E1. Okay, good defense by my opponent. They take. All right, so now I get what I want. I get to attack this. Knight D5. Black anticipated that, defending the bishop, attacking the pawn. I'll pull it back here. Now I'm threatening c4, which would attack the knight on d5 and unveil an attack on the knight on a5. Still feel like I have a small edge here, but probably nothing substantial if black plays this correctly. But it looks now like my pawns might get some momentum in the center. c4, possibly followed by d5. Yeah, so black retreats. That's smart. Let's put the question to this bishop and see where it goes. Most likely bishop d7 will be played. And now I'm thinking knight e4 might be decent, looking to pivot into the c5 square. I don't see what this knight is doing over here. Looks like it has limited value. I could go c4 and try to follow with d5, but I'm just not sure about knight b4. So let's play knight e4. I'll keep this pawn on c3 for now, guard this square. Yeah, now I'd love to be able to play c4 and jump into f6, so that may be the next thing on the agenda. But again, there's still that knight b4 move to consider. So I actually wonder if black could play b6 here. Although then I might play bishop c4 instead of knight c4. Okay, king g7. Covering this. Also covers h6. All right, let's jump in. Attack the bishop, attack the pawn on b7. So bishop c8 covers both. Then again, I'll consider c4 once more. Maybe bishop e4. Seems like a decent way to put pressure on this diagonal as well. Which is more promising? Let's play bishop e4. Just still not sure about the knight jumping into that b4 square if ever I do this. It's kind of a loosening move. So especially in the interest of time, I want to put the bishop on this diagonal instead. On rook d8, maybe bishop g5. Okay, now black plays bishop e6, which seems suspicious because I can take on b7, which just looks good. I could also take e6, but I see no issues with the capture on b7, so I think I'm going to go for that. Knight's on undefended square, but I can always get it back out via c5. Now this knight on c6 is looser as well. Almost considering playing c4 right here, but black could retreat their knight. I think that should be fine. So let's play the knight back to c5. And rook b2 hits the bishop on d2. It just flashed through my mind that maybe I can play knight b3 here and try to attack that rook with bishop c1 coming up. Let's try it. Try to get my opponent with a backward move. They surprised me with a backward move earlier. Maybe black can play knight a5, but that's a hard move to find here. And of course, he finds it. Very well played. So maybe I'll do this anyways. And then knight takes b3. I'm thinking take. And yes, he'll take a1, but I think I'll probably be able to do something on the diagonal. Maybe even c4 right away in this position. Let's try it. Because I don't have to take that knight right away. So I'm thinking if he moves the knight, maybe I get d5 in. Maybe I can really drag out this pressure. Open this and this. So he backs that off. Okay, now let's take. Could be tough for him to get out of this pressure. He can play rook e8, but there's really no threat. So maybe g4. Threatening g5. There's no rook takes e4. I can play rook takes. He's pinned. So really liking the strength of this dark square bishop here. Should probably play g5 himself, and then I'm thinking about trying to overwhelm that square and eventually try to get a pawn up. Yeah, he played a5. But now I'm winning the knight. Let's take check. Okay. Just play f3, stabilize the bishop. Now my rook can move freely. So rook b1, look for maybe rook b7. Pressure on the c7 pawn. Attack the c7 pawn again. Yeah, and this is a straightforward win for white. Up the material. Check. And pawn push on the next move. All right. All right. Thank you, Torres92, for the game. I'm going to send them a message in the chat real quick. Very good defense by my opponent. I had to work quite hard to win this one. And as I said, I missed knight f6. Well played defensive move by my opponent right there. I was especially impressed that black found knight a5 later in the game too, when it pretty much required them to do so, because after knight b3, bishop c1 is a threat. And black understood, even though black was low on time, they had 20 seconds here, that they needed to somehow break this configuration with the knight defending the bishop. So, yeah, really nicely played. I'll definitely send them this game afterwards and see if they have any comments or want to comment. So, my major thoughts are I probably misplayed the position somewhat around here. I feel like after bishop g4, white may have something better than what I did. But in view of this knight f6 defense, maybe that's not the case. It just looks like black is barely holding on here. And with these pieces loose, maybe I could land a tactic. But I think in view of knight f6, black might be all right. And queen d6, black really coordinated quite well here. And I think in the resulting position, again, white's a little bit better. But had black played something more solid here, let's say a rook d8 type move, I think it's much more comfortable for white, but nothing concrete yet. So I'll be curious what the engine says about my play and where I could potentially improve. For black, as I mentioned, knight takes e4 is just the stronger line compared to d5. I probably won't go into the theory much after this, but I was going to castle. There's some sharp theory that's good to know for both sides if you play this. But yeah, d5 take. Is the Steinitz von Bartoleben game might have actually gone bishop g5 instead of castles. So I may be misremembering that. But okay, let's click over to the analysis board. Actually, I know what I want to do. Go to my history here. We will do it that way. Yeah, okay, so I'll skip the initial moves. I don't have a whole lot to add compared to what I've already said about them previously on videos. But yes, knight takes e4. Castles is the main line here. And white also has the option of bishop d2 if you want to play it a bit safer, although this is a more tame option for white. But yeah, now that I think about it, I believe the Steinitz von Bartoleben game went bishop g5 in this position. Let's check the opening explorer. Maybe not. Okay, I'll have to look it up myself, but I should know because I presented the video on my channel, but it's been a while. Yeah, castles typically played. My opponent did play bishop takes c3, which is the top move. This is the percentage white is scoring here, though, on the left-hand side here, and you can see it's pretty high. But yeah, imperative that black castle in this position after the trade on c3, because if you get too greedy, move like knight takes c3, queen e1 check, forking the king and the knight, white wins material. So castle, and then, hey, look at this. White has played 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different moves in this position. I was debating between bishop a3, queen d3 as I played, bishop g5. Looks like those moves have all been played. So queen d3, and now bishop g4. Yeah, so this was the moment I was really thinking I had something, but let's check with the engine. Again, I'm trying to use the engine in a targeted way, not using it as a replacement for my brain, but I've already tried to form some conclusions about the position. So let's see what the engine says. Knight g5, as I played, correct move. And I mentioned if f5, white can play knight e6. There's no longer a pawn guarding that square. So my opponent played g6. Now the engine wants to play knight e4 or f3 or bishop e3. Claims a big edge for white. This looks like a bigger advantage than I would expect in this position if white doesn't win material. But knight e4 would threaten to play bishop takes d5, followed by knight f6 check with the fork. So interesting option there. Yeah, queen e4 and knight f6. Otherwise, it does look bad for black due to the double attack. So let that be a lesson to you. Those backward knight moves, they can be tough to see. I know they're a weakness for me. This has been a thing throughout my chess career, actually. And it's a cliche with backward knight moves, but I failed to see backward knight moves in important games before. For example, the Pro Chess League playoffs a couple years ago, when our team basically depended on me seeing a backward knight move in a crucial game in a match we played against a Chinese team that would have sent us to the Final Four otherwise. And I didn't find it. So, a pattern for me to always work on. Yeah, and then queen f4, queen d6, good. Engine still likes white, but not that large of an advantage after rook e1 compared to what I had earlier. Actually says I'd be better off playing h3 or f3 here. Okay. And how about the subsequent play? Yeah, knight a5 was a good move by black, pushing this bishop away. Maybe after bishop d3, black should play rook e8, one of the rooks to the e8 square, because right here, rook e8 is going to run into bishop takes f7, or if black uses the other rook, I can take on e8, and they can't take this way. Also, I suppose knight takes is going to lose the bishop to queen takes g4. So I think that would have been a good, consistent way to follow up after knight a5. Black doesn't mind putting the knight on the side of the board, by the way, because it comes with a gain of time, and it's just so important to force my bishop off this diagonal. So even though typically you want to avoid a knight on the rim like that because they tend to be dim, it's okay in this instance. I was happy to see queen takes f4, though, because I got my wish and was able to develop a piece and attack that pawn on c7. But even here, some good play by black. The engine does want me to play c4 now. Yeah, I always hesitated to do this because of knight b4, but maybe white is just better placed here to take advantage. d5 is a threat. This knight needs to defend the knight on b4. So I could see that being the case. Yep, knight e4, looking for knight c5, or c4 followed by knight f6 check. So I'm looking at these two dark squares because, for one thing, black doesn't have a dark square bishop. So f6 and h6 will be weak for black. King g7. Yep. So pretty consistently, the engine wants me to play c4 around here. And then bishop back to b1. Guarding against a knight c2 fork. You know, you wouldn't want to play this because the rooks do come under fire. But on bishop b1, I'm keeping an eye on that c2 square. And still d5 is the threat. So, yeah, I can see how that makes sense. We're both getting kind of low on time at this point. Yeah, and had black played rook d8, or maybe knight f6, as the computer also likes here, I think black's for sure in the game. Bishop e6, on the other hand, does lose that pawn on b7. Yeah, and now it's a pretty big advantage for white. But again, my opponent resisting very well. Knight a5 here. Probably they shouldn't put the rook in on b2 in view of the fact that it may be attacked. And I was trying to play bishop c1 after this, but well played, knight a5, keeping the game going. Ah, and here I actually could have trapped it. That's funny. I briefly looked at this line, but it didn't occur to me that the rook was just trapped. Again, backward knight moves. So, yeah, I'm covering d2 and b2, and I'm attacking the rook on d2. So, I guess that means knight a5 still results in a win of an exchange for white. Or possibly a rook outright. How does black even get material for this rook? Yeah, rook e2 is the top move. That's funny. This is why you need to analyze your games, guys. That's a detail I probably would not have noticed if I just immediately fired up another game and never looked at this again. Might not have crossed my mind other than this brief moment in the game, but didn't see it there. So, yeah, I played bishop c1, and this still looks really nice. Didn't even take the knight right away, because this knight is a goner with these two squares covered. So, was trying to further confuse black. But again, I think black resisted pretty well. It's tough down the pawn. White has the two bishops. This pin is a big issue. Now it felt right to take that knight. But yeah, here, g4, especially in a time pressure situation, very tough for black to deal with. I'm trying to play g5. It looks like I can overwhelm black on the g5 square. So let's say black played g5 here, or even h6. I'm going to enlist the help of my f and h pawns. I'm just purely trying to get this scenario where even if I lose a pawn or two, otherwise, I want to get at f6 and win it. And if black moves their king, let's say king h6, they're going to lose the knight outright. They can't go to g6 because my bishop covers that square. And if h6, I was ready to play h4 or maybe take first and then h4, which should do the trick as well. And view of this. Although I guess even here there are a couple tricks. Bishop f5, for instance. And even though I wind up picking up that knight, my bishop is pinned. So even there's some interesting stuff. Yeah, so the computer wants me to take my time in this type of position. And even play a move like bishop c3 first, because black is not going to get out of this pin anytime soon. Yeah, and after I got in g5, black played a5, but after I got in g5, this was winning. All right, so interesting game. I'm going to look up the Steinitz von Bartheleben game because, yeah, I'm pretty sure that black, or white rather, did play bishop g5 in this position, but now that I checked the database, I'm second-guessing it. Because what would happen after knight takes c3? Okay, I got to know. I just got to Google this game. Curiosity is getting the better of me. d5, knight takes d5. No, white did castle. Yeah, it went castles, bishop e6, and then bishop g5. Okay. So, yeah, bishop e6 is where things deviated compared to our game where black played bishop takes c3. All right. So, once again, thanks to Torres92. I'll drop a link to this game on their chess.com profile. Hope you guys found this useful. Again, Italian game. Good to know for both sides, especially for those of you starting out. And watch those backward knight moves, guys. I certainly missed a couple in this game. All right. See you guys later. I'll be back again soon with another video.